Hey guys, welcome to the Challenge Podcast. I'm Coach Steve.
And I'm Coach Nick, and we're going to be talking about everything fitness, health, and the challenge.
Let's get on with the show.
What's up guys, Coach Steve here and welcome back to another episode of the Challenge Weekly Show. Today we're joined with our co-host, Coach Nick. Nick, how are we doing today?
I'm very well, thanks Coach Steve. There's a little bit of sunshine in Melbourne, so that's nice.
Yes, it's great when the sun comes out, but in classic Melbourne fashion, I believe it was raining earlier this morning. So
it was freezing. I had my puffer jacket on earlier this morning, so I don't get it. I'm not sure.
It's something else. But look, just to break the fourth wall here, Nick, we are recording this podcast on Friday, the 4th of November. And we are planning to launch this podcast on Tuesday, the 8th of November. So normally we record our podcast just the day before it is launched, but we're recording a little bit earlier, Nick, because next week I'm on a little bit of leave. Because I'm expecting the birth of my second son, which will, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, the 8th, it would have been yesterday. So I would have announced my new boy as of yesterday, but today in the future, even though today is the past, but we get it. We're there if you're following along. So that's exciting time for me. So I'll be taking a little bit of annual leave. Nick's holding the fort down, and I'm gonna be a dad of two boys. Nick, I'm gonna have a spotter on each side of me. I'm gonna be really excited.
Yeah, that's so exciting. We wish you all the very best. We can't wait to hear everything about it, and we wish Laura the very best as well, because she's the one that's going to have to do the hard work. So
she's a trooper.
Bringing baby into the world, and then you can help after that.
That's right. But look, Nick, it is an exciting time in the challenge. We've now moved into week 3 of the challenge, getting close to that halfway mark. Technically halfway is at the end of week 3, because then we've got week 4, 5, 6. Wow. And since this podcast, we've had our check-in, our phase 1 check-in, where you were asked to upload your progress photo. So a photo of yourself, no entry document required. We just need a photo of yourself, the front, back, side, and your scale weight. So if you haven't already, make sure you complete that check-in. It's open as of today, Friday the 4th, and you have up until the phase 2 check-in, which is at the end of week 4 to complete your phase 1 check-in. So lots of time to do it, but it's just simply a check-in photo. Okay.
Perfect.
Now, Nick, we always get really excited at this time because during this phase 1 check-in is the first glimpses at progress. When people start to post photos of their start photo to the phase 1 check-in, we could start to see some changes. Now, firstly, it's always exciting to celebrate changes. It's always exciting to notice changes. However, we are just 2 weeks into a 6-week challenge. There's still lots of time to be had. And if you're not seeing any changes or noticing any changes or measuring any changes, that's okay. There's still time. We might need to go through and audit how we're approaching the challenge, audit how you're following your nutrition plan or your nutrition strategy, whatever strategy you're choosing to follow, audit your approach to training, and audit your environment. How adherent are you to things like your step count or your stress or your sleep or your overall accumulation of fatigue in your body. So we just need to take a moment right now. It's a great time to think about it now. How can we improve over the next 4 weeks of the challenge?
Very, very important, because otherwise we won't be able to pivot and fix the things that we need to fix to get better.
Absolutely. And that's really what it is, because I think we all know deep down what we should be doing. We all know what the answer is, and whatever challenge you face, because we all face our own unique challenges in the challenge, whatever challenge you face, you may have the answer for. We can guide you, we can offer you suggestions or ask you the right questions, but ultimately you have the answer. Where, maybe you're struggling to get more than 5,000 steps per day. How are you going to do that? I can't tell you. Maybe you have that answer, and upon a little bit of reflection, you might think, maybe I'll go for a walk before breakfast, or maybe I'll go for a walk after dinner. Maybe I'll go for a walk during my lunch break, or maybe I'll park the car a little bit further away from the supermarket and walk through the car park. Those types of little things just to get a few more steps in throughout the day. So, you really do have the answer to questions that you're looking for.
Definitely. That sounds like a Star Wars or something like that, but yeah, it's true.
Now, Nick, the next point I just want to make is for everyone to take a moment to go and confirm their start photo. Not just to confirm that the photo has been uploaded, but to confirm that you are eligible for the M Challenge. Now, to be eligible for the M Challenge, you do need the entry document or a current newspaper in your start photo. So if you did take a start photo with no entry document or no newspaper, you will just need to upload a new start photo, especially if you want to be eligible for the final competition. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, there are some users who upload photos that are incorrectly cropped. Maybe they're take a very wide shot photo of their entire living room and they're just like a little speck in the corner. So, if you do want to, just crop your image down so that you fit into the photo slot. And also, if you are really zoomed in, you might need to kind of zoom out your photo and change the sizing of the photo there, okay? Another challenge that we face is focus. Some individuals will post a photo that is out of focus, which makes it just really difficult for our judging panel, because ultimately our judging panel wants to compare your start and end photos. So if you do upload a photo that is poor quality lighting, maybe blurry, maybe a strange posture, or maybe you're flexing or something like that, it's really difficult for our judges to kind of compare the before and after to make you eligible for the competition. So think about how easy could you make the judging process for our judges so that you can make the top 50, top 10, top 3, win the challenge, whatever your goal is for the M Challenge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just read the guidelines and make sure that you follow them. That's probably a really good idea.
Now, Nick, now that we're in week 3, we are transitioning into the next phase, yes, where you will notice a new training plan and a new nutrition plan populate. You can simply follow what you were doing previously. It's just 2 weeks. The stimulus is still applicable. So if you did go and maybe write down all your training plans on a piece of paper, or maybe you found a rhythm with your meal prep and you like having certain meals on particular days, you could simply follow that structure right to the end of the challenge. No need to change anything if you don't want to. You will notice that in phase 2 and phase 3, there will be a decrease in your total caloric prescription, or an increase depending on what your goal is. If your goal is to gain weight, there might be an increase. If your goal is to lose weight, there'll be a decrease. And there might be some new exercises populating into your training plan. Again, there's nothing particularly specific about the changes in the training plan. So you can simply continue the training plan that you're following now if you'd like to. But a little bit of variety is always great for adherence and motivation, keeping something new and fresh and a new stimulus for gaining muscle.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the calorie drop, in most cases, simply follow the nutrition plan. However, if you have selected something like rapid weight loss and you are on quite low calories at the moment and you're kind of struggling on those low calories, it might not be wise to further decrease your calories, especially if you are consistently losing weight. So if you are measuring your weight loss on a weekly average, comparing your weekly average week to week, and you're losing maybe on the upper end, maybe 1% of your body weight each week or more, it may not be wise to further decrease your calories where you are increasing the calorie deficit or energy deficit and thus increasing your weight loss rate, because you may be dipping into like the muscle loss kind of territory, and you may be dipping into that really highly fatiguing area of dieting where you are having extremely low calories while trying to maintain some physical activity. And that's where we end up in a high risk of a binging episode or a high risk of ultimately failure in the challenge. So if you have determined that you are consistently losing weight, it may not be wise to continue to decrease your calories and follow the plan as it's structured. Simply follow as is. However, for the majority of us, it's simply best just to follow the plan. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's the same as if you're on moderate and you're losing weight. Don't change it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or maybe on the other side, if you have chosen steady weight loss and you haven't seen any significant weight loss yet, firstly, I commend you for being patient by choosing the steady option. And secondly, it might be wise to then continue to follow the plan just as is, because you'll see that calorie decrease and you may start to see some weight loss really starting to happen. Okay, so just to summarize again, for most of us, simply follow the plan. However, for some of us, small percentage of us, you may not need to further decrease your calories. Okay.
Yeah, that one person maybe who chose the steady option. Probably one.
Now, Nick, I have to admit something.
Uh-oh. What?
The ultimate sin has occurred.
What did you do?
The ultimate sin has occurred. No. Look, my dear sister, I love her. She's returned back from Israel. She's doing really well with her dog's weight loss. If you have been following the Challenge Weekly show where I spoke about her puppy who was at my mum's house, who gained a bit of weight because my mum loves dogs, and now she's on the weight loss journey for her puppy. Love her to bits. She came over to my house to see little baby George, and she brought with her a tub of hummus.
Of course.
Nick. A tub of hummus in true Arab style as a gift.
That's nice.
Gift, right? So I found myself, without thinking too much, with a spoon in my hand, spoon in the tub of hummus, straight into the gob. And the ultimate sin has occurred where hummus is now in my house, Nick.
Yes. So how are you going to handle it?
Look. Firstly, I wanted to admit this because there will be challengers out there who will be looking at their own kryptonite, their own food that is their kryptonite throughout the challenge. That could be chocolate, that could be ice cream, that could be Freddo Frogs, that could be cupcakes, that could be whatever your food of kryptonitism is. You will be staring that food into the eye, staring the food in the eyes. If food had little eyeballs, you'd be staring it right in the eyeballs and saying, no, I do not need to eat you. Okay. What are we going to do about it? Right. So what I've chosen to do was, firstly, I enjoyed my fix of hummus. It was in my house. It was sitting on the kitchen table. I needed to have some hummus. So I had my spoon, had a little bit of bread, got my hummus. Oh, I got my fix, Nick.
Yep.
Then hummus went into the fridge, but not on the top shelf, not in the front of the fridge. It went on the bottom shelf at the back of the fridge. Okay. The reason why was I didn't want to open the fridge every single day and look at this tub of hummus, because I know every time I go to open the fridge, let it be to grab my meal prep or to grab some eggs or grab my veg, I'm going to look at that hummus, I'm going to pull it out, I'm going to grab a spoon, and I'm going to say, it's just a spoon of hummus. How bad is this, right? So if you have a kryptonite food in your house, first tip for you is get it out of sight. Right? First tip for you, get it out of sight. Don't make it easy to consume it, because eventually there's a number of times you look at something before you give into it. Okay. It could be once, it could be twice, it could be 100 times. You're eventually going to give into it. Okay. And then tip number two is that have your fix, right? Where, if your food kryptonite arrives in your house, have your fix, because that's the only thing you're going to think about. Because I knew that if this tub of hummus went straight into the fridge, I'm just going to think about it. I'm going to dream about it. I'm not going to sleep well. I'm going to be distracted for everything. This podcast, I'm going to think about hummus. If I didn't have my fix, that's what I'm going to think about. So I had my fix, Nick. I had my fix, and now it's in the back of the fridge. So that's my two tips. If your kryptonite food ends up in your house by a well-meaning family member who comes over with gifts, bearing gifts, have your hummus, get it out of sight, is my tip.
Wow. Okay. That's a really good tip. And I'm really glad this podcast wasn't completely about hummus.
Well, look, it can be if we let it be. But no, let's move on from our hummus, Nick.
Yeah.
Hummus got there, but we're good. Nick.
Keith would like that.
Keith, you would. Let's move on to our next segment here. We have our community highlights, where we highlight some members of our community. So Nick, take us away. Who would you like to highlight this week?
All right. So first one up is Annette Aston. Hi, Annette. She goes, I feel like I'm on the comeback trail, loving my time in the gym, and I'm feeling great. And this is my favorite day of the week because on Fridays we flex. Have a great weekend, everybody. So that's a nice one.
That's nice. Simple, sweet. Annette, keep flexing. You kicking goals, love it.
Yeah, good on you, Annette. Next one, Nicole Bones. I have finally uploaded my photo on the app. It's been with such hesitation as I didn't want to see exactly how much I've let myself go. Glad I did now, because I'm accountable for getting myself to the point, and I'm accountable for getting myself to where I want to be. So she said accountable for getting myself to this point and accountable for getting myself to where I want to be. So yeah, she's taken accountability, which I'll speak about later in the podcast. But I think that that's wonderful, because that's the first step to getting what you want, taking responsibility.
Yeah, so good, Nicole. Congratulations for taking that first step. And, we're excited to see where you go with this.
Can't wait. Next one is Lucy Pickles, best name ever. So NSV, knee pain is something I've been living with for almost 20 years. My first ACL reconstruction was at 14 and my second at 19. 3 years ago, I tore my meniscus and didn't realize for 3 months because I thought it was just a bit sore, and the doctors and physios said I wasn't in enough pain. For the past 3 weeks, I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone when training while being very conscious of my limitations. I can now report that my pain has decreased. I won't lie, it did go up in the first 2 weeks, but I managed it as prescribed by my doctor, and now my knees, particularly the one with the torn meniscus, are feeling the best they've felt in years. So, Coach Steve, I know you'll have things to say.
Oh yes. Firstly, we need to make a knee joke whenever knees come up. Something about, we don't need any knee pain, right?
Yeah.
Second thing is that, Lucy, I appreciate that. Myself, I have had an ACL reconstruction in my early 20s. Bucket handle tear of my meniscus, quite worn down articular cartilage, and I have late stage arthritis in my knee, osteoarthritis, but they're all just titles. They're all just things. They're just labels. They're not me. Okay. That's the first step. Secondly, some really great research about, non-operative approaches to knee pain, specifically on meniscus tears or ACL tears. So I chose to have my knee reconstructed because I wanted to be able to change direction in sports. However, many of us can thrive after an ACL tear without the reconstruction, and many of us can thrive after meniscus tears without any surgical intervention, which, Lucy, you've experienced here. So you've been guided really well by doctors and physios. Maybe if the advice was, your pain isn't enough, might not have been the correct type of language to use. However, it sounds like you've correctly managed your load, found out what is within your tolerance range, less than maybe a 5 out of 10 in your pain level, scaled that, learned how to manage your symptoms, and now you have rebuilt strength in your leg so that, it feels really great. And that is straightforward advice I would give to anybody experiencing any sort of pain or longstanding, not quite rightism. I wouldn't say an injury, but if you've got a shoulder that's not quite right or hip that's not quite right, firstly, it's all about load management. How much can this body part manage in terms of volume, intensity, recovery, those types of variables, and then working on building strength in that joint through a large range of motion, which, Lucy, sounds like you're kicking all the goals. How good. Love it. Keep going.
I knew you'd love that one.
I did. So good. Nick, I've got a couple I'd like to highlight. Let's speed through it. First one goes out to Bridie Lee, the M Challenge runner-up, second place, who, Nick, I believe you have recorded a podcast with Bridie. Is that correct?
I have. It was really cool. We had a great time. She will tell us all about all her animals. She has snakes. She has dogs. She's really good with animals. It's amazing. She's like an animal sanctuary, and that's just her kind of part-time job.
Love that. I'm excited to listen to that one. So, Nick and I have gone through and interviewed most of the top 10 finalists of the July M Challenge, and they'll be released on Fridays. We have the Challenge Weekly show on Tuesdays. So we are releasing 2 podcasts a week. So you can spend one episode listening to us in the Challenge Weekly show, and then another episode listening to previous top 10 finalists, which are really great to listen to because they often share their own challenges, their own experiences, maybe even like a few tips and tricks thrown in there as well. And ultimately their story, who they are. And you may find that you're not that different to someone who finished in the top 10. So if that's one of your big goals, is maybe get in the top 10 or top 3 or win the challenge, go check out the top 10 interviews. We have a whole range of them going back years of different top 10 finalists that we have interviewed across the previous Max and Maxine challenge and now the M challenge. So don't miss that one.
No, don't miss it.
Nick, Bridie Lee writes, my daughter joined me at the gym yesterday for our first ever session together. She loved it, and we've locked it in for twice a week. She's always been an active girl. Now she's working on building her strength and fitness for aerial silks and her cross-country running. Oh, I love it when kids join their parents in the gym. I love inspiring the next generation to get into not only fitness, but into strength training, into lifting weights. And Bridie has done that with her daughter, Nick. How good.
That's so awesome. Good on you, Bridie. That's really good. Good mama.
Next one here goes to Sharon Bacons. And Sharon writes, normally don't post on here, but follow everyone's progress quietly. Definitely out of my comfort zone posting these, but figure that's what this challenge is about. I'm determined to finish this challenge. Think I can subtly see differences, but definitely feeling better. Nick, Sharon posted a couple of progress photos of herself. And I think this is what the challenge really is all about. Stepping out of your comfort zone, maybe challenging some of your own beliefs. Let that be maybe the normal way you've been doing things, maybe challenging your own thought patterns. Oh, I'm not good enough for this. I want to hide in the shadows, X, Y, and Z. And Sharon's challenged that. She's challenged it, stepped out of the comfort zone and posted some progress photos of yourself. So kicking goals, Sharon, I love it. Let's see what you can do.
Absolutely. That's absolutely brilliant. I love it. Yeah, it's good when you get out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there. I think that's when things change.
Yeah, that's when things change outside the comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, last one here goes to Carly Meggs. And Carly writes, #NSV, a non-scale victory, NSV, nutrition. She writes, I've been feeling fatigued and worried that I might not be able to sustain enough energy for the whole 6 weeks. Thanks to Annette Aston, who we had a community highlight just a few minutes ago, for taking me through my food options, encouraging me to swap out some of my protein at lunch, too much bulking in one meal, removing my beloved balsamic vinegar as dressing and choosing a better source of that energy as sandwich thin and adding a burn bar as a snack. Today I've learned that all food is energy, but not all energy is created equal. Late to the party, she writes. As Nicoletta keeps saying, what is measured can be managed. Woo, Carly.
I get a mention.
Carly's dropping all the bombs. She's mentioning Nick in the community highlight, and she's mentioning Annette as well. I love it, Carly. I'm glad that we're starting to really explore the realms of nutrition. I think that we can go down very deep rabbit holes in nutrition, like we've spoken about in previous episodes of the Challenge podcast. However, the crux of it is that all food is essentially energy, but not all energy is equal. Different food sources does have different nutritional qualities. Sure, you can get lean and ripped by eating chocolate and drinking beer, but you probably feel like crap along the way. You probably feel really great and nourishing your body by providing yourself with some good quality energy, which Carly has highlighted here. How good, Nick?
100%. Love it.
Nick, let's move on to the next segment here. We have our Coach's Corner where we offer our tip for the week. So Nick, take us away. What advice do you have for us?
Here I am sitting in the corner being a coach. So I'm going to just quickly talk about accountability, the magic of staying accountable. So it's not really magic, but it sort of feels like magic when things start to slot into place for you. And I think having interviewed the top 10s in the last couple of weeks, it's reminded me so much about how important it is to hold yourself accountable to decisions that you may have made, no matter what happens in your life beyond those decisions, because there are going to always be times where you might choose, you might have a path where you might go, I'm not going to worry about this decision anymore. It doesn't mean anything to me. So accountability is really important. And I think the top 10s all had that in common this time, where they all said, being accountable was so important. And look, top 10, what else do you really want? So as we said before, that success leaves clues. So I'm just going to say 8 ways that I think that you can keep yourself accountable in the challenge or in life. So accountable just means, for this, it just means something that you promised yourself that you will do and you hold yourself to it. So if it's losing weight, if it's going to the gym every day, how do you hold yourself to it? So the first one is, I think, removing blame. So it's not as aggressive as it sounds. It just means not saying, I'm not trying to put the app under the bus, but not saying it's the app's fault. It's not saying that it's that the gym was too busy, so I didn't go. It's always bringing it back to you and going, what can I do? So we have legs, we can walk. Walking outside is free. So things like that, really accepting responsibility for things. So removing blame, not blaming others, understanding that our circumstances will change sometimes, but holding ourselves to account. Setting clear goals, because how are you supposed to achieve goals if you do not know what they are? So sometimes sitting down, like I've said before, and writing your goals down is really important, because you might find out the goal that you thought that you had is not actually the one that you have, which is why you're finding it so hard to achieve it. So it might be that you're a runner, but you've been told to lift weights every single day, and you're like, well, I still want to run, but I'm a bit worried that it's not what I'm meant to do. And so then you find yourself not going to the gym as much, and everything turns worse. So you've got to do something that works for you with your goals. No matter what we say to you, you need to have your goals, other than if your goals are to eat 20 Freddo Frogs and 10 cans of, beer a day, unless you put it into your calories, I'm not sure. But the next one is reward yourself when you achieve positive outcomes. So it doesn't necessarily have to be with food. I wouldn't probably choose that as a reward. I'd probably choose something else. It could be something really nice, like a self-care thing. It could be a massage, something that's in line with your goals. It could be a new piece of gym equipment if you gym from home, or it could be a new accessory to take to the gym. So maybe some new wrist wraps, or some chalk, or maybe that just sounds like me, things that I would like, or some active wear. A new gym bag, something that you can sort of see as a tangible thing, maybe some gym shoes, that when you achieve a certain goal, you can kind of tick that off and go, okay, I've rewarded myself, let's move forward. Yeah, so do what you enjoy is another one, which I kind of touched on before. So, obviously you're not going to enjoy every single session, but if you enjoy a run, if you enjoy swimming, if you enjoy riding a bike, incorporate that into your program. Don't take it away just because we're primarily a weights-based program. We're also a living your best life program. So we really encourage you to do all this, so then you have the energy to do what you want to do in life. Remind yourself of your achievements. So usually no one else is going to, even when you lose weight or when you do something pretty cool, people might say that's great or you look great, but then when it all dries up, you've got to watch out that you're not kind of relying on people to give you that kind of a hit when people go, oh, you look great, and then people don't say it anymore, and you think, do I still look great? Watch out for that. So remind yourself of your achievements, write them down, take photos, do comparison photos, shout it out to the world, but make sure that you know. And also, obviously, with training, write everything down, keep a log of everything, so then you can see what's gone on. That's why we like our data. Develop healthy habits. So that's really good to stay accountable, because they are things that you can sustain for a long time. Unhealthy habits, obviously, you can too, but healthy habits are the things that are actually going to make you feel better in your mind and your body. That could be something as easy as going to sleep a little bit earlier, half an hour earlier, making sure that, you exchange sugary soft drink for maybe just some normal water, habit stacking, like somebody I think it was Chantel on the Facebook group, said that she was watching TV, a series, while she was on her treadmill, and that was the only time that she let herself watch that series. So I thought that was an amazing habit stack. So that sort of thing. Go for a walk while you're making your phone calls in the morning if you work from home. The next thing is keep to a schedule, or schedule, whatever, whichever way you like to say it. So keep to a routine and stick to it, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to produce results. If you are willy-nilly about it and you go, oh, I won't get up, it doesn't really matter. I want you to picture yourself at the end of the day when you get busy and go, do I feel good about myself there? That's sort of what motivates me sometimes to get out of bed. So stick to what works for you with your routine. It doesn't matter if you train in the morning or night, as long as you do it. And once again, similar to the other one of remind yourself of your achievements, actually keep track of your progress. So that means, yes, step on the scale, write it down somewhere. Forget about the number once you've done it, but I'm telling you, that's the way that you're going to see those numbers change. If you don't know the numbers, then you are more likely to have extra snacks, do things that are not conducive to the numbers changing in the way that you would like them to over time, because you are putting your head in the sand. So do not put your head in the sand, rise up and be accountable. Thank you very much.
Coach Nick in the red corner, dropping bombs on
Bang,
the
bang,
magic
bang.
of accountability. Gosh.
Thanks.
How good, Nick. No, that's some really powerful advice. And I think you're right, especially that last point, get your head out of the sand. Don't be like, what animal would put their head in the sand? I think like the
ostrich, they do that.
The stereotype is like a cartoon ostrich popping their head in the sand. But face your data, face yourself, and ultimately, I think we all need to take a little bit of responsibility of our own future, right? Our own progress towards any sort of goal, and that might take some steps like removing any blame. It's no one else's fault. Like, I could easily blame my sister for bringing hummus into my house. It's your fault that I'm eating a tub of hummus while I'm watching what is popular on Netflix these days. I'm not sure, Nick. Or I could take it on myself, be like, all right, this has happened. What am I going to do about it? Or I'm going to enjoy it, put it in the fridge, put it out of sight. All right, I've taken accountability for that. Extreme ownership, like Jocko Willink talks about. It's about making it our problem and looking for a solution to our problem, whatever problem we face.
Yeah, perfect.
Jeez, got some hoons in my street. All right,
You
Nick.
too.
Look, I would like to talk about pre-workout, but I'm not talking about pre-workout supplements because they're really great. I'm not talking about pre-workout nutrition, which often we go down a rabbit hole of, what should I eat as pre-workout nutrition? The main summary is that we just want to simply have a meal in the hours leading up to training. Let it be within, 1 to 3 hours, having a full quality meal, or if it's within an hour to training, having something that's really easy to digest, maybe like a piece of fruit or even a protein shake, something like that as a pre-workout nutrition. But Nick, today I want to talk about pre-workout hydration. And I would argue that pre-workout hydration is way up the top of priorities that we should be focusing on. And for many of us, we push it away, not even thinking about pre-workout hydration, okay? So what should we be doing? When we train, we need to have our body primed to be able to complete a task, complete the workout, complete the exercise that we want to do. For our body to operate optimally, we need to have an adequate level of hydration. We need it for our cells to work normally. We need it for our nervous system to work normally. We need it for our brain to function. And if you are dehydrated in any sense, that's going to lead to some form of lethargy or fatigue or just feeling tired. Okay. And you may find if you have a really poor quality workout, a really poor quality session in the gym, it might be because you're just simply dehydrated. You haven't consumed enough water. So what do we do about pre-workout hydration? First thing I want to comment on is that saying to drink X amount of water per day or prior to a session or whatever it is not great information. So if I'm telling you, hey, Nick, or hey, listener, you need to consume 1 liter of water 1 hour prior to training, that's not helpful for anybody. The reason why is because every one of us is different in our body. Like, I am about 100 kilos of Coach Steve. Nick, you're 60, 70 odd kilos. You're much smaller than I am. So we would need different water quantities to reach the same level of hydration in our body. Right. Number 2, our environments are different. We're in Melbourne. It's a little bit sunny right now. You might be listening to this in, North Queensland or out in Perth or something, or even in another country around the world. And that has different climate, different environment. You may have a different job to us. Maybe you are working in a really hot environment, really physically active environment where, Coach Nick and I are in the comfort of our homes with air conditioning. Climate isn't an issue. Our own hydration requirements are different. So we can't say you need to drink X amount of liters prior to training. However, you should be consuming water leading up to your training session to ensure that you are adequately hydrated. How do we know that we're hydrated? I think we all kind of deep down intuitively know. So if you were to take an audit right now and rate your hydration on a 1 to 10, we could all kind of like create a number and we go, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm currently sitting on maybe a 6 out of 10. And that's me talking right now. My mouth is a little bit dry, my lips are a little bit dry. I kind of want to drink. I haven't really drunk water for the past maybe hour or so. I don't want to drink because I'm thinking about it. Nick, you might want to have a drink right now. Person who's listening, you might want to have a drink right now. And it's okay if you do. So I think we all kind of know, all right, how hydrated am I right this moment? Now, for most of us, for our training sessions, we want to be above a 5 at least. right? Above a 5 out of 10 at least. So for me, I could probably go and train right now. I'm adequately hydrated. However, if I just woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I want to go train at 5:30, I probably need to consume a lot of water to reach an adequate level of hydration. And you might find that you really wake up a lot more than when you take a cup of coffee by actually having a bunch to drink. Okay, so that's the second thing. Next, it's important to consider how close you are consuming water prior to your session. So if I guzzled like a liter of water, maybe 5 or 10 minutes just before I walk into my garage to go and train, my stomach's going to be really, really distended. I try to put my weightlifting belts on and I try to brace and do the Valsalva maneuver, and all I feel is just water slushing around inside of me. Not wise. It's going to negatively impact my session. Okay. And then number 4, a little hack or shortcut to hydration is to add some salt to either your water or add some salt to things like your pre-workout. Okay, I've spoken about salt in your pre-workout prior in previous episodes. Gosh, Nick, maybe 40 episodes ago or so.
Yeah, I can't remember which one.
It was a while ago, but essentially, having salt prior to your workout, if you are having a pre-workout, helps with hydration and also helps with nerve function. So that could be a little bit of a shortcut to make sure that you are optimally hydrating and collecting as much water as you can. And it might help you to stop needing to pee in the middle of your sessions. If you find you get halfway through your session, you're like, I gotta go to the toilet, and it ruins your vibe, maybe a pinch of salt in your pre-workout can be that little bit of a hint. So Nick, in the coach's corner here, in the blue corner, my tip for you this week is to think about pre-workout hydration along with pre-workout nutrition and along with pre-workout supplements. Pre-workout supplements, the super summary is, we mainly want caffeine prior to our workouts. Pre-workout really ticks all the boxes. Think about your water, drink plenty of water. Be careful you don't drink it in the minutes leading up to your workout, or you may really not have a fun time. Pinch of salt can go a long way. Nick, water.
Pinch of salt can go a long way.
It does. Water, what a funny name. It's the ninja's favorite drink. Water.
You're funny today. Yeah, it's one that a lot of people are emotionally invested in, the topic of water. There's a lot of things going on. Yeah,
that's right. And just to make comments about a certain post on both the forum and our Facebook social hub, yes, you can consume too much water. No, there's not a number of how much is too much for you, again, because you're different body size, different shape, different environment, different physical needs. And 3, it's probably really, 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 really with many really difficult to consume too much water, because your body has built-in mechanisms to avoid that. If you just start guzzling water, you may find that you're really full, and that's going to stop you from drinking too much water. Okay, so drink when you're thirsty. Maybe drink just a little bit more just to make sure you're optimally hydrated. Most of us would benefit from a little bit more water than we probably do right now. However, you probably don't need to be super concerned about hyperhydration. It is a thing. We respect that. But there's probably a few other higher risk things happening while we're dieting than drinking too much water.
Yeah.
Nick, let's move on to our question and answer segment, where we answer some questions from the community. And most of these questions actually came from the forum. So the first question here comes from Vicky. And Vicky writes, should I keep intuitive eating? I tend to not be hungry during the day, so I don't eat, and then I slip up in the evening. Do I try the plan even though I'm not hungry in the morning? Nick, lots to unpack. What advice do you have for Vicky?
Hi, Vicky. Okay, so Vicky, a couple of things. One is so let's just park the concept of intuitive eating for a minute. But I tend to not be hungry during the day and I don't eat. Then I slip up in the evening. Now, I'm assuming in the evening you are absolutely like beside yourself with hunger. And so you eat anything and everything in sight, because that is just your body's natural way of going, I'm bloody hungry. And before you know it, like you're like Steve with the tub of hummus, it's gone. Everything's gone, because when you're starving like that, it's really hard to make good decisions. And also it's hard to actually give your body time to actually tell you that it's full as well. So That's the first thing. The second thing is also like the reason that you might not be hungry during the morning is because you are full still from the night before, if you've eaten all your calories in one go at nighttime. So I don't know if it's something that you tend to be or if it's just because of your habits. So I would definitely try the plan. I think that a couple of days of trying to eat in the morning would actually then help to regulate your appetite throughout the entire day. And I don't think that you would then have as much of a chance of binging, or overeating in the evening because you are starving. So I would try the plan, either the plan or just something in the mornings, so you can actually kickstart your day in the best way. Because I think sometimes if you're trying to, if it's a fast or something like that, which we don't really endorse that, but you'd probably be planning that meal and you wouldn't say the word slip up. So the other bit that I want to talk about is intuitive eating. So that isn't intuitive eating because your hunger has overridden any intuition there whatsoever, because your intuition is just to feed yourself, and most likely it'll be hyper palatable, quite calorific food, because when you tend to go without food for quite some time, that's the first thing you want to reach for. So that's why you say slip up, not because you've actually eaten something, because in this you don't sort of say, because you say you slip up by eating something. It's like, well, when were you planning on eating something? Because if you're saying that you're slipping up by eating something, that doesn't make sense to me. So you're obviously eating quite a bit of stuff that maybe is just that hyper palatable, quick energy type of food that then gives you a bit of a crash as well. So that isn't really intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is kind of when you have a really good idea of the amounts that you need to eat and consume of food during the day, and you don't track it, but you have a fairly good idea because perhaps you've done it for a long time and you sort of know pretty much the weights of things and stuff just by eyeballing, and you go with what your body wants. So you may miss a meal here and there if you're not hungry, but that is also because you have topped yourself up, so you wouldn't go on a massive big bender of food as well. So I would say please try the plan, and don't stress if you're quote unquote not hungry. What you might actually be is slightly hungry, but you are used to the feeling of hunger being that 10 out of 10. I just need to eat, otherwise I'm going to eat my computer. So I think your scale of hunger might be a little bit skewed, and there's nothing wrong with any of this. This is just all the things that you might have created as a habit that we can sort of unpack a little bit and start to build some new habits for you that might serve you better in the long run, because you are really trying. I like this question, and thanks for asking it.
Great answer, Nick. I'd like to make two comments, if you may. Number one is, Vicky, just that last point. Do I try the plan even though I'm not hungry? You're suggesting that you're, quote, slipping up, whatever that means to you. It's significant. I'm slipping up, implying that, I'm not maybe making progress like I want to, or following a strategy that I want to. I'm slipping up. If your strategy is not working, my question would be, well, why aren't you trying the plan, right? We offer the challenge, which has been successful for thousands of people. You've signed up to the challenge asking for advice and support, something like a plan, and your current plan isn't working. You may need to review your current strategy and maybe try another one, such as the challenge plan, or another strategy. So that's the first thing I'd like to suggest to Vicky is, if your current strategy isn't working, you may need to try something else. And the second one, intuitive eating, that's a whole podcast in itself, Nick. I would argue that intuitive eating is almost something we were all in prior to the challenge. Prior to us finding the challenge, we were all intuitive eating, because the majority of us probably found a kind of homeostasis, a balance, an equilibrium, a maintenance of our body weight at that time. So, if I was, overweight Coach Steve, 30 odd kilos, and I was maintaining 130 kilos over years, that's my intuitive eating, because I've maintained that weight. So to develop intuitive eating is almost like developing a maintenance phase where we maintain our body weight, where it doesn't go up, doesn't go down, because we kind of understand our body needs to stay where we are. And to develop intuitive eating once we've reached our goal, for weight loss, is a skill that can take some time. So yes, intuitive eating is a brilliant strategy. However, for many of us who may have struggled with our body weight in the past, may not have the skills, both technical skills and mental, emotional skills to manage intuitive eating where our body weight stays consistent. So, Coach Nick, you'd be a great example where intuitive eating is probably second nature to you, where you may not follow a plan super 110% written down to the gram. You kind of know, okay, yeah, this is roughly a dinner portion for me. This is roughly a lunch portion for me. And this is how I might go through a weight loss phase and a maintenance phase without maybe weighing every single gram of every single food, because you've developed that skill over time. So, if Vicky listening to this, or anybody else who might be like, oh, I want to kind of go into flexible dieting or intuitive eating, I'm going to suggest maybe invest some time to develop those skills first. And then, intuitive eating could be the goal over the next, maybe 3, 6, 12 months or so.
Yep. Perfect.
Nick. Next question here comes from Luke, and this was a kind of a long question talking about creatine, but the super summary was Luke was kind of asking, why should he take creatine, right? In a long-winded paragraph. We're talking a lot about creatine, but let's give Luke the super summary of why should you take creatine. So firstly, what is creatine? Creatine is an amino acid derivative. It's found naturally in animal products, things like red meat and seafoods, but in very small traces. So majority of creatine, specifically creatine monohydrate, is actually made in a lab, which is much more palatable in the body than the small traces in animal products. Creatine affects what's called the Krebs cycle, which is how our body creates energy. And what it does is when an action is made in the body, like when you move your arm, move your mouth, like I'm talking, lifting weights, doing those types of activities. Whenever a muscle contracts, there requires a molecule that we call ATP, adenotriphosphate. ATP to be there, and it's almost like the little helper. Whereas when one muscle goes to contract, the little ATP is like, come on, buddy, you can do it. And it's there, and it says contract. And then the ATP goes, okay, great, perfect. And what happens? ATP, adenotriphosphate, 3 phosphates, transforms into adenodiphosphate, right? It loses 1 phosphate. So instead of 3 phosphates, it becomes 2 phosphates. And then, it needs to go through the recycling process in the Krebs cycle. What creatine does is it comes in, it helps that ATP or the adenodiphosphate turn back into adenotriphosphate through the process of a creatine kinase type situation. Now, we would benefit from supplementing creatine just so we have more ATP in our body, more helpers going, yeah, you could do it, so that our muscles can contract over time, right? More creatine we have, the stronger we become, the more slightly endurance that we have in heavier loads, and it also has some really positive effects in brain function and overall health, okay? Creatine works via saturation in our muscle bellies over time. So it's not like pre-workout. It's not like you need to take it, half an hour prior to your workout or anything like that. The creatine that you're probably consuming right now is creatine that you saturated, a week or a month ago. Okay. So the loading strategies are simple. Either we can load 10 grams of creatine monohydrate per day over a week, and we reach our saturation levels, let's say 100% over that week. Then what we would need to do is to maintain that saturation level by having 5 grams of creatine per day, right? We want to have that daily. Okay, we could miss a day or two here and there, but if you're starting to miss out on 3, 4, 5 days in a row, we can start to begin that washout period, which can take for some individuals up to 2 weeks to wash out creatine from their system. But it can begin to decrease just in a couple of days. So we do want to kind of top up our creatine by maintaining about 5 grams per day consistently. So that's option 1. We do a load 10 grams and then maintain 5 grams. Or we can just start the maintenance phase, which is 5 grams per day, and it'll take you a month to reach saturation levels, and then you just need to maintain that over time. Okay, creatine, probably the most researched ergogenic aid meaning performance enhancing supplement, most researched supplement, Coach Steve's number one supplement to take. Heck, I would recommend taking creatine over protein powders or even caffeine. So take your creatine, your body will love it. And I've been taking creatine since, I was like a late teenager, 18 or so, pretty consistently throughout my adult life. Long-term studies, no negative side effects. Some individuals worry that creatine is going to make you bloated. It doesn't work like that. It makes your muscles hold more water, so you make it look bigger, which is awesome. It doesn't affect subcutaneous water retention. So take your creatine, take your creatine.
Take your creatine.
Take your creatine. If you missed that one, take your creatine.
Yeah, I just made a video about creatine that's going to go up on the Instagram, so you can see me talking about Crea Burn as well, if you really want to.
So
by the time you watch this, it'll be probably up. Not watch, listen.
Listen. You can listen to this and watch Coach Nick talk about creatine on Instagram.
Yeah, at the same time. And then message me. Or not message me, message on the Facebook group. Give me something to do while Coach Steve is away.
Nick. Next question here comes from Elise. Elise writes, not sure if this has been asked or anything along those lines, but what is the best way to deal with extra hunger coming up to that time of the month? Nick, what advice do you have for Elise?
Oh, well, okay. So Elise, I think that's a very valid question. And anyone who experiences that does know that it's a real thing, but we can also really kind of use that as an excuse to really give into things that we would say are cravings. What we really need is probably something that's just a little bit more carb heavy, but you could go your rice, your pasta, things like that just give us that little bit more energy, because we get quite tired at that time of the month. And yeah, we can kind of mistake that for needing chocolates and things. But what I generally do, if I can, is just take my calories. If I'm in a deficit, if I'm not, then it doesn't matter so much. But this is probably more when dieting. Take my calories just back up to maintenance for a couple of days. So nothing bad will happen there. Gives me a little bit of more wiggle room to just eat some extra of what I would normally eat anyway. And happy days. So that's just what I would do, just really, really simple. So more of what's on your plan, for example, more rice, more oats, maybe some nice air fried sweet potatoes, things like that. I mean, let's go crazy. But yeah, you don't really need to be piling on all the sugary fatty things, because it's not going to necessarily make you or your body feel any better. So I'd just be going some of those extra nice, good, easy to digest foods, even your oats, things like that are yummy, just yummy, but things that are still packed with nice things that keep you nice and full, as well as some fiber. That's what I would say.
Yeah, so good. I guess I can't make a lot of comments about time of the month. It's something I don't experience. But I would just recommend to Elise to think about, why you're doing the challenge. Is that more powerful, like the why, than those hunger cravings? So if you are experiencing hunger cravings, let it be if you're on your menstrual cycle, or if you are simply hungry, it may be worth reflecting and going, well, do I need more food right now? Am I, actually hungry? Can I wait, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Can I go for a walk? Can I drink some more water? Is that enough to kind of negate those hunger pains? Is there a way we can change our language around that? Being like, I'm starving, maybe like Vicky earlier in the question and answer, I'm starving, I haven't eaten all day, I'm gorging on food, versus I'm a little bit peckish, maybe I'll have some carrot sticks, or maybe just a slightly bigger portion in my next meal. That might be more powerful. And think about your why.
Definitely. And yeah, look, that's the other thing that we must acknowledge. If you're in a calorie deficit, you are going to feel hungry. So, if you're in an energy deficit, there is going to be an element of hunger there, no matter what time of the month.
Nick, final question here is from Luke again. Luke, it's your episode this week of the Challenge Weekly show. But Luke asked a question on the forum about weighing food raw versus cooked, and if there's any benefits from consuming foods raw versus cooked foods. Okay. So firstly, first part is, should you weigh your food raw or cooked? In the M Challenge nutrition plan, you will find a bit of information if you should weigh that food raw or cooked. So you'll find in brackets after every food item if it's measured raw, cooked, dried, boiled, steamed, because all have different weights. Now, the standard is that we provide you with information on the raw weight, simply because when you prepare or cook each food item, that weight can change very quickly. So if you grab some, like, let's say beef steak, you put it on a fry pan, and if you cook it raw versus medium rare versus well done, they're going to have different weights at the end. If you decide to prepare certain foods in different ways, let's say vegetables, if you prepare it by blanching it or steaming it or frying it or roasting it, it's going to change the cooked weight at the end. So if we told you the cooked weight, that weight could be very different across different cooking methods. So we offer you information on the raw weight, and you can prepare it however you like. Now, in saying that, you could weigh your food in any way. So if it says, 100 grams of rice, for example, you could measure that dry or cooked, as long as you're consistent with that measurement. So even if the plan says 100 grams of dry rice and you are measuring 100 grams of cooked rice, all you need to do is, be consistent with that measurement, track your body weight changes. Are you losing weight? Yes or no? If you are, keep doing it. No dramas, keep going. If you're not losing weight, simply reduce that portion size. So instead of 100 grams of cooked or raw, just have 90 grams of cooked or raw. And that is just a different method. Instead of trying to be really accurate with our total calorie intake, if you're just consistently incorrect, like we spoke about last episode of the Challenge Weekly show, you can, drive yourself to weight loss, even if you are inconsistently measuring something. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, the conversation around cooked or raw, in most cases, cook your meats, right? So don't eat raw chicken, please. No. Most cases, cook your eggs. Raw eggs can have some problems with them. So please cook any animal products. In terms of fruits and vegetables, there's no issue with consuming foods raw or cooking them. Yes, you can go down a rabbit hole about different nutritional quantities versus raw versus cooked weights and such. You can also go down deep rabbit holes about the seasonal qualities of food. Are you having this apple when it's in season? How ripe is this banana? That's another rabbit hole to go down. And in often cases, the rabbit hole isn't worth the squeeze, meaning that, it's probably not wise to waste time thinking about, is this going to be more nutritious if I try to go organic versus, pesticide fruits and vegetables, or am I going to consume this food raw or cooked or blanched or steamed or tinned or frozen? Consume the food, measure it the same. It's going to have very similar calorie intake, maybe a couple calorie points different. It's going to have very similar nutritional values, and ultimately you can prepare your food however you wish. There's no right or wrong.
No right or wrong. Just be safe with it.
Just be safe. Practice good cooking habits. Use a fridge after you cook your foods, and be wise with your meal prep. Right?
Yep.
Nick, let's wrap it up there for episode number 90 of the Challenge Weekly show. Recorded a few days early because I'm going to be on a little bit of leave next week. We made it.
Good luck.
Good luck. I know I'm going to need
all the best.
It's going to be great. So if you enjoyed this episode, let us know, and we'll catch you next week in a little bit for episode number 91.
Yep. See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you like the show, share it with a friend.
Or leave us a review on iTunes to spread the good word. See you next time.